All right, guys. It's been a while. We're hoping that this vlog is successful and I can upload content again. I just haven't been feeling it lately. I think we all understand. That's it. I myself got a COVID test at the end of last week and I'm still waiting for results. They said it could take 10 to 12 days, which is insane to me. I feel okay now. Been struggling on and off for a while. I also think that I got COVID way back before like we really knew it was a thing. If you've been here a while, you remember how sick I got from Christmas basically till like late January. Now that I read accounts and see how it has played out for a lot of people, I'm like 98% sure that I've already had it before the United States realized that this was a thing that was happening globally. So I'm wondering if a lot of the symptoms I'm feeling are just post having had it. But let's talk about books. Okay, so I'm doing this last minute. I wasn't gonna participate. I haven't been making content. I miss booktube, but also it's been a lot of like pressure in my life that I don't need. You know what I mean? I don't feel pressured to make videos. I just feel like it was nice to take a break and mood read and buddy read with my friend Jamie. We read 2 books back to back that we loved, and it was just nice to like let it go. But I miss talking about books, so we're just gonna do that right now. I threw together a TBR with a bunch of books that I own, and I also included in that the books that I'm currently reading because I'm not just gonna stop them for the reading rush. So let's talk really quickly about what I am reading. Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. The E always gets me. I know it's Octavia Butler, but the E always gets me. I got this because Jamie, who I just mentioned, recommended it, or at least talked about it. So I picked it up on a whim when I went and got The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. This was on a table and I was like, you know what? I know Jamie 5-starred it, so I'm gonna get it. And I always hate when like someone recommends something that I end up not really loving because then I feel bad, but like it's not Jamie's fault whatsoever. I'm not jiving with the writing style. The plot of this story is that this woman who is alive in 1976 randomly has this episode where she's like about to pass out and she comes to in 1817 or somewhere around there the first time, and it's to save a boy from drowning. And she realizes in that moment that he is an ancestor of hers, and there's this weird web. She's like, his dad is a plantation owner, so there's a ton of slaves, and when she gets really freaking scared, she gets teleported back to her current 1976 where her husband is. She's in an interracial relationship, so she's a black woman and she's married to a white man. So like the next time she goes, he like dives on her and comes with her. So they spend a lot of time in this like a century and a half before where she's treated like a slave now because she's a black woman that's on a plantation, and all of the things that they go through, both of them, because even though he's a white man, he still has to take his like current modern ideas of how like slavery is wrong, like, and has to adjust it so that he isn't ostracized or killed for his beliefs. And it's at a time where, you know, the North is starting to free slaves. It's just a whole jumble of, it's a lot more graphic than I expected too, and obviously sad. And I care about the characters, so when things happen, I do get upset. So I don't want to say enjoying, but I do like a large part of this book. But I really am not connecting with the writing style or like the technique of writing or the way that Octavia E. Butler has decided to forward the plot. I'm gonna give one instance. It doesn't really spoil anything because it is near the beginning and it's the first time that Kevin has come with her during one of these episodes. I was complaining about this to Jamie, that when they drop and they have to convince this kid that always is the one in danger that brings her back to the past, they have to convince him that they're from the future, because why would he believe that, right? Like, most of the Midwest to the west of the United States isn't even colonized by white people yet. Like California is a Spain, like Spaniards live there. So we're still on the East Coast in 1817. And he doesn't believe that they're from California. Like, what the hell? You're not Spanish, like that kind of thing. So Kevin pulls out this like pocket full of change to show him the different dates on the coins, which one, like, I don't know a whole lot of people that just carry pocket change around. I guess it's the 1970s, so okay, we'll let that slide. But then he pulls out a bicentennial quarter to be like, see? I don't know about you guys, but how many of you carry around bicentennial quarters? It's things like that where I'm like, they knew off the top of their head the year that California gets recognized as a state. They also knew all this like historical information, like who the president was at the time and how many terms he served and who came after him. I don't know that stuff off the top of my head. I don't know if I'm just not that smart or if I feel like it's just a convenient way to explain what's happening in the story. I don't know. But it's those kinds of things that are pulling me out of the text, and I'm not enjoying that aspect of it. I feel like a lot of the conversational aspects of it are convenient compared to some of the more real and raw moments. So I'm leaning, right now it's a 3.5 star book. I don't hate it, but I also am not loving it. And I hope to finish it this afternoon and move on further in my TBR. And lastly, I am reading The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel on ebook, which is, I don't know how to, we're seeing things happen from the past while also having like an overarching narrator that's an interview happening with the main character Paul, because he's been in jail, I think, is what I'm getting from it, for something that happened. And very early on, he does give bad ecstasy to someone who ODs, and then he's on the run trying to like, because it's not technically his fault, but I think he sort of knew what he was doing, so it sort of is. And anyway, he'd go down for it anyway. So he runs away and he starts working at this Glass Hotel that's like a luxury hotel in British Columbia in Canada. This weird graffiti with an acid marker happens on one of the windows and he gets blamed for it and doesn't really get to explain. He gets like, he has to leave that day. So something weird is happening. I don't love it as much as I, like when I started reading Station 11, which is one of my favorites. It's on my favorite shelf. I didn't want to put Station 11 down. The Glass Hotel I'm not really thinking of when I'm done reading it, but I am reading it relatively fast because it is gripping when I'm in it, but I don't really care about it outside of that, which is kind of where I fall in terms of like whether a book is automatically turning into a 5-star or not. So it probably won't be, but that's that. When I'm done with Kindred, probably gonna start a graphic novel. So either The Woods or Plummet. This is my book to read outside, which I'll read by a window, and The Woods is to start the title. Just to switch it up a little bit. I've been reading a lot of adult literature lately, and my brain could probably use a break, and it'd be nice to start out the reading rush with a couple books read on the first day or two. That's it for me. I'm feeling okay right now. I had a lot of, for those of you that have followed for a while, I had a lot of like stomach issues, and that goes in and out. Still trying to figure out what exactly is wrong with me, and doing my same old momming, working out, playing video games. Been playing The Last of Us 2 if anyone's a fan. I don't like this one as much as I like the first one. Got a lot of problems with it in terms of the storyline, but that's it for me. I'll check in with you guys soon. Happy reading rush. Right now I'm surrounded by books. I just filmed like a legit video for the first time in a while. So I'm surrounded by books I gotta put up. But I don't know if this vlog will be up first or if the video that I just filmed will be up first, but I did film a video about all of the books that I've absolutely loved that I've read the past 2 months, because I haven't done wrap-ups. And instead of going through all of the books, because they're probably in like close to 30 for the past month and a half. I just talked about the ones that I loved because that's what I started this channel for. So, Surrounded. What can we talk about? Because this is a reading rush vlog, right? So let's talk about the books I've been reading for the reading rush. Hold on. All right, so I wasn't sure if I was going to talk, if I was going to make this a week-long vlog or if I was going to cut it up into two. I think I'm going to cut it up into two. So let's talk about what I've read so far. So the first book I finished was technically, I kind of made it like, I fit it into the movie category because I just don't have a book that fits into that. But I read Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and I talked a bit about it in the last clip, so I'll tell you that at the end, I still wasn't incredibly satisfied. And one of my biggest complaints outside of some of the convenient conversations and plot lines is the fact that her husband, who time traveled with her once, was kind of a dick to her throughout the second half of the book. And I just think that if you are a white man married to a black woman who gets stuck back in slavery times in a plantation wherein you become a slave, even though you're from 1976 in which you are a free woman, that no matter what the fuck you've been through as a white man, you have no fucking right to give her shit about anything. Anything. And it really bothered me. And that probably was purposeful by Octavia E. Butler's. It was probably something she did intentionally, but I hated it. In any case, I did give this a 3.5 star. I rounded up to 4 on Goodreads. I didn't connect with the writing style, and that's something on me. Otherwise, the idea of the story and the reason that it was written and the themes it tackled were all great and worth reading, and I do recommend checking it out if it sounds interesting to you. There is a graphic novelization of it that I'd like to check out. I believe Hoopla has it, so I will check it out in the future. It wasn't the book for me. It wasn't my favorite, which is why I rounded up on Goodreads. That said, that's 1 down, so that's my movie. Technically, I'm totally cheating though. I also read Plummet by S. Gia. Now, there's like not anything about, like, the author's name is barely even on here, and there's like no preface. This is literally just a story about a woman who wakes up from a dream wherein she's falling, and she's actually falling in real life. And it's there's like minimal conversation that happens. It's a lot of her like doing weird shit, like having to figure out how she pees while she's falling, not being able to eat much, eating things she finds and then getting sick because who knows how old it is and when it's expired, and finally interacting with humans, and some are good and some are bad because it's kind of apocalyptic in a sense, and it's every man for themselves. And it was weird. What did I give it? I think I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. This was the book that I read outside, so I like sat in front of my window in the morning and finished it like first thing in the morning. Not my favorite, but it wasn't bad either. It was weird. Like in the end, the most interesting thing about it was the information. The acknowledgements were super cool. The reason that this book was written was because the author saw 9/11 happening and watched videos post where you see, you know, rescuers and even people within the buildings deciding whether they were going to stay back and die in the fire or if they were going to jump from the buildings. And it was the jumping that brought this graphic novel about, because the author was fascinated by the idea that when you're in free fall like that, time's supposed to stretch out and slow down, and it made them wonder what happens in that time. Like what were they feeling, what were they thinking about, and thus was born Plummet. The author also, the next interesting thing was that there was a section about the author. Doesn't give a whole lot of information, but there is a part that says he would have liked to have been born a girl, but these days identifies as genderqueer and does not personally use a particular pronoun. And in fact, she likes all of them, just as she likes potatoes, and revels in all the ways potatoes can be prepared, baked, mashed, fried, etc. So halfway through about the author, it switches pronouns, and I just thought that was very interesting and wanted to share that. So yeah, 2 down. We're going for 3. 3 down. I listened to this entire book on audiobook yesterday. It's a 7-hour audiobook. I listened at 2 times speed, so I read it in like 3.5 hours. Did a lot of chores yesterday. I also did a lot of cooking yesterday, which is when I primarily listen to audiobooks. Plus my husband was working from home, so I had that cushion of having help with the kids when I needed it. This was my first 5-star read of the readathon. This is a magical realism, contemporary adult literature story about 2 girls who were high school friends, but then something happened that like separated them, and they were like each other's only friends. And 10 years later, the one, Madison, has married a important and rich person and has called her friend Lillian and said, hey, I just married a man who has I have stepkids now. They're twins. They're like 10 years old. We need someone to come and watch them, to be their nanny. Will you do it? It's a great opportunity for you. The catch is that they spontaneously combust. So Lillian goes, and the bond that she forms with the children and the story behind the combustion and like how they feel about it was heartwarming and weird, and the story was so strange. Trigger warnings for suicide, death of a parent, parent neglect, drug use, a lot of things in it, but it was weird. It was perfectly weird for my kind of weird, and I recommend it if you're interested in a magical realism book that's kind of weird. Also, what was that for? That was for the genre that I want to read more of, which is magical realism. And The Color Purple by Alice Walker is what I'm reading right now. I don't know, 2/3 of the way through this. I couldn't believe that I've never read this before, and I couldn't believe how many people also said they haven't read this in my TBR video. I thought this was like something that was very common in the United States in the academic high school things. I always feel like I missed out on some of the more modern works because in advanced, in our like honors classes, we were reading like Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, reading it. Whereas people got to read like, what's that Holden Caulfield story called? My brain's not functioning, but like things like that where it's like modern, you know, classics that we talk about, not fucking Russian literature. So I felt like this was something I missed out on in high school. Maybe I didn't. Regardless, I didn't know that this story featured a queer main character. Never once in my life did I know that. So if you, like me, didn't know that, our main character likes women and she's a woman, didn't fucking know that. Sometimes I think I'm just not the smartest person. In any case, this is a story told with our main character, Sally, and she is writing letters to God because her life sucks. She was married off to a man who didn't want her. He wanted her sister because she's ugly, and took her anyway because her father pushed her off on him, and her father had been sexually abusing her whole life. She had 2 kids to him. The story starts out with a rape scene, so be aware the very first letter to God is about her being raped. It is rough, it is raw, it is emotional, and then she starts getting letters from her sister, Nettie, after years of not hearing from her. So it's stories from Sally to God and stories from, and like letters from Nettie to Sally. So you've got your sister relationship happening and what's happening in Nettie's life, and then you get most of the stories in Sally's perspective. Sally is less educated, so her letters are grammatically incorrect and all over the place, and the way she states things are very phonetic, and Nettie is educated, so her letters are a little more grammatically correct and proper sounding, etc. So it's very fascinating to see the dynamics of the two. I'm enjoying it. Enjoying isn't the right word because it is pretty hard. So it's a rough story. Life is not happy for Sally. So that's about it. That's where I am right now. I'm also going to try and read the graphic novel The Woods next. I'm going to take a break from novels. I feel like I've just been like ripping through novels lately and I'm getting a little burnt out. And then I don't know, what will I read after that? The Samantha Irby novel or A Sprinkle of Sorcery? I'm also I'm reading The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. It takes place in Canada, so I was counting that as like a place you don't live, but technically I think it's a continent and we're on the same continent, which is why I picked A Sprinkle of Sorcery, because it's technically the UK, but it's fantasy, so it's not really. I don't know. I'm reading it. I'm about 35% through. I think it is kind of boring, but I'm intrigued by the characters. It is definitely, again, another character-driven book, but like the plot of it is plodding along, and I don't really know the direction in which it's going. So hopefully by the end of this week, I have more of an update to give you, because I can't really tell you what's happening, as there's a couple characters to juggle and a couple different timelines happening, and I'm thinking they'll intersect, but I don't really know. Guess we'll find out together. But I'm gonna call this vlog now and have it uploaded soon for you, and then I'll have a second half of the Reading Rush vlog for you in the future. And that's it. I've been reading a lot. I hope that you are too. Even if you're not participating in the Reading Rush, I hope that you're reading some good stuff. That is it. It's been a while since I vlogged, so I hope it wasn't too crazy. I'm gonna go have a snack and drink some water and maybe read a little bit, and hang out with the kiddos. So guys, I hope you're doing well. Happy middle of the week. I hope you're staying healthy and happy and you're wearing your masks when you go outside and you're lecturing people that don't. Join me in doing so. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Like if you like this video, subscribe if you are new here and would like to see more content from me. I post all my social media links down below. You can find me on Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram. I will see you in the next one. Happy weekend. Have a good weekend. All right, bye.